Since it was invented in 1932, Lego has become one of the most adaptable and creative building toys available. You can buy sets to make your favorite things, but the real fun is when you come up with your own designs that push the boundaries of what's possible. To help inspire you for your next masterpiece, in this video we'll be looking at the top 15 amazing Lego buildings. Number 15. Batmobile. As long as you have the imagination for it, Lego allows you to build just about anything you can think of, and those who have become famous for their Lego builds have had the opportunity to work with well-known brands to bring their iconic creations to life. That's what happened in 2015 to American artist Nathan Sawaya, who, thanks to some impressive Lego models he had built previously, was put in touch with DC Comics to work with them in building a life-size Batmobile from the building blocks to celebrate their 80th anniversary. He was given access to the designs that were used in the comics and movies, and after more than 2 months' work, it was complete. The Lego Batmobile is just over 18 feet long, is made up of hundreds of thousands of Lego blocks that were provided to him by the company. It's by far the biggest Lego build he had done at the time, and was taken on a world tour where it was exhibited at automobile museums and Comic-Cons. It remains to this day one of the coolest things to have ever been made out of Lego, even though the artist admits that Batman isn't exactly his favorite comic book hero. Number 14. Roller Coaster. Adam Reed Tucker is another artist who dedicates a lot of his time to creating Lego versions of real-life structures, and he says it's his job in the toy store that helps with his passion, mainly because of the employee discount. It's not always easy to find the precise pieces that you need for a build, and he admits that he's, on some occasions, spent hundreds of dollars on a set just because he needs a very specific part that's only available that way. Of all the various buildings that he's made, Tucker has become best known for his recreations of roller coasters, complete with moving parts. The first one he attempted was the American Eagle roller coaster from the Six Flags Great America theme park in Gurnee, Illinois. He used the original blueprints to make his scale replica of the ride, and since then he's been commissioned to use his learning to build countless coasters over the years. All of them follow the same basic laws of physics that actual roller coasters do. The track is perfectly designed so that once the cars have been lifted to the top of the first hill, the momentum is enough for them to travel all the way around and back to the start. Number 13. Rivendell. Lifelong Lego enthusiast Alice Finch and David Frank met each other at a Seattle Lego Users Group meeting in 2011 and realized both had similar interests beyond the building bricks. They were both massive fans of Lord of the Rings and knew that they had to work together to turn a piece of the fictional Middle-earth into Lego reality. They debated which part of Tolkien's world would look best in Lego, and after considering Hobbiton and Mordor, they chose to go with Rivendell, the home of the elves. Once that was decided, they were both experienced enough that they needed to begin drawing up plans and collecting pieces together that they needed, and were even able to get hold of production drawings that were used to create the imagery in the Lord of the Rings movies. Eventually, after months of work and using more than 200,000 individual bricks, they were ready to show off their creation to the world, and it was nothing less than astonishing. The scene includes a river, the elven exodus to the Grey Havens, and even LED lighting, so the town truly comes to life when it's nighttime. They began their plans in early 2013 with the target of displaying it at the BrickCon of that year. It took place in October. And despite meticulous planning, the last few weeks were particularly busy in what was a Lego builder's equivalent of a crunch. The wider community was so impressed by Lego Rivendell that Finch and Frank have continued building large structures ever since. Number 12. Tallest Tower. From the moment anyone first starts to build with Lego without any instructions, one of the first things they do is build the tallest tower possible. At home, these rarely make it any higher than your knee, or perhaps even a table. But when you start building a Lego tower on an almost industrial scale, the result is something completely next level. The current world record for the tallest tower ever made from Lego was set in late 2017 by a community from Tel Aviv in Israel. They did it in honor of an 8-year-old boy called Omar Sayeg, who loved playing with Legos as he was growing up. Sadly, Omar died in 2014 from cancer, and his teachers, fellow students, and everyone that knew him began making plans for the record attempt. Donations were given by local businesses in the form of boxes of Lego bricks, and once they had been given planning permission and engineers were consulted on how to do it safely, they were ready to begin. 26 community centers worked together on the project, and once it was complete, it was a staggering 118 feet tall and made more than 500,000 bricks. It was so big that they needed to use a crane to add the higher blocks, and a series of wires were needed to hold the tower stable so it didn't break in the wind. It beat the previous record attempt by just several feet, and it's quite possible that another attempt will take place soon, just to see how high a Lego tower can actually be. Number 11. Bugatti Chiron. The Lego company has deals with a wide range of different companies to sell kits based on various products, and one of the most popular ranges is the one that features supercars. The real versions are too expensive for most people to afford, and so in many ways miniature Lego replica is the next best thing. Within the range, one of the most sought after is the Bugatti Chiron, and in 2017 Lego decided that they would commission the design and creation of a life-size version of the car, with the intent that it would be fully functional. Construction began in March of 2018, and after a reported 13,000 man-hours, it was complete. When you see it at first, you almost think that it can't actually be real, but it most definitely is. It took more than 1 million Lego Technic pieces to make, but with a weight of more than 1.5 tons, they had to use some other materials too. There is a steel frame within it, a set of batteries, some gears that were specifically 3D printed for this build, and some genuine Bugatti tires. Amazingly, the doors open and close, the spoiler lifts up at the push of a button, and has an accurate speedometer. With a theoretical output of up to 5.3 horsepower, though, it hardly reaches the top speeds of the real thing, which can accelerate to more than 250 miles an hour, and instead has a top speed of around 19 miles per hour. Number 10. Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal is one of the most recognizable landmarks in the world, and is one of the largest traditional Lego sets that you can buy. The problem for the Legoland Resort in Dubai, though, was that the Lego version of the Taj Mahal from the box was nowhere big enough to be an impressive exhibit, so they began a project to custom build one of their own. To put things into perspective, at the time they did this, the Lego Taj Mahal was the largest one that the company made, and included 5,900 pieces. The version that Legoland Dubai decided to build involved using more than 40 times as many, with a total of 280,000 bricks. The completed building took more than 2,000 man-hours to finish, and weighs just over 3/4 of a ton. There was such attention to detail that the patterns on the walls are as close as possible to the real thing, and even what appear to be mistakes on the original have also been included in this Lego version. Furthermore, the model is made precisely to scale and remains to this day one of the centerpieces of the resort. Number 9. The Kennedy Space Center. Lego sets over the decades have focused just as much on the fantastical and theoretical as they have on real-world objects, and for a long time have offered a series of spaceships, colonies for faraway planets, and many more sci-fi themed designs. This wasn't purely to cash in on pop culture, though, because one of the Lego company's mission statements is to encourage creativity, learning, and hopefully inspire a future generation of engineers and scientists. To further this goal, they entered a partnership with NASA, which even involved a small Lego model of a shuttle being taken into space, and a series of real-life models being released that would get builders excited about the notion of humanity returning to the moon and exploring further. As a part of this agreement, Lego built a new exhibit for the Legoland Florida Resort, a faithful recreation of the Kennedy Space Center. As well as the most prominent and recognizable features of the site, the launch pads, the design also includes an astronaut training area and a rocket garden. Hundreds of thousands of bricks were used to build it, and it became part of the Miniland USA exhibit alongside a number of the nation's other most well-known monuments. We are constantly adding more people to the Top 5's production team to bring you all the best content. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on and hit the like button. Number 8. A house. Sometimes it takes someone with a crazy idea to actually prove that even the most ridiculous designs can be made with Lego. And that's what happened in the UK when, as part of a TV show, a British presenter set out to build an entire house from Lego. We're not just talking a few rooms either, but a structure big enough that it could, in theory, be used by a whole family. A plot of land was borrowed by a vineyard in Dorking in Surrey, and more than 1,000 volunteers gave their time to help put all the pieces together. The structure wasn't entirely freestanding because it was built around a wooden frame, but other than that, everything you see is all Lego. In total, they used 3.3 million Lego bricks, which has made a house that was 20 feet tall. Inside, there was a functioning toilet, a shower with hot water, and what was described as being the world's most uncomfortable bed. Unfortunately, though, while the house will live forever as a result of being featured in a TV show, there was very little use for it when it was finished. It was offered to Legoland, but the transport costs would have been too high, and the vineyard needed the land back for next season's crop. The house was therefore unceremoniously knocked down soon after it had been finished, but it has gone on to inspire a number of others to try it themselves, and you can now visit one in the Legoland Resort in Germany. Number 7. 3D printer. You'd think that every model made from Lego is for display and doesn't have any particular practical uses, but in 2011 a designer called Arthur Sachek managed to do what you would initially think was impossible. He built a 3D printer from Lego. The pieces he used to build it were all from a Lego Mindstorm set, which allowed him to build the structure and program the moving parts. The only thing used in the device that isn't a standard Lego part is the bit at the very tip of the printer, and that was only used because Lego doesn't produce a piece that's suited to that very specific job. Sachek designed it so he can put in a 3D image into software that's been created in Autodesk, and then the machine gets to work. Technically, it's not a printer because it doesn't deposit layers of material on top of one another, but is instead a milling machine. He places a lump of foam into the workspace, and then a drill bit is slowly moved to carve it into the desired shape. According to Sachek, it's able to make an 80 by 80 by 30 millimeter object in around 2.5 hours, and it only cost him around $500 to build. There are, of course, far more practical 3D printers available for the price, but it's incredible that Lego pieces can be used to build a machine that, with some upgrades, could quite easily make Lego bricks of its own. Number 6. Serenity. Firefly has gone down in history as one of the greatest sci-fi shows that has never given a full chance to flourish. And while there were attempts to revive the franchise with a movie and potentially even a reboot, most fans will always remember the original as being the best. It's become a huge cult phenomenon, with comics, countless pieces of merchandise, and a legion of followers known as browncoats. But one thing that's always been lacking is an official Lego model of the main ship called Serenity. One fan decided to take it upon himself to finally recreate the ship from Lego, and rather than making a replica that could be displayed on a shelf, he went big with it. Built by Adrian Drake, the Lego Serenity is 7 feet long, weighs 135 pounds, and it was made from around 70,000 Lego bricks. He estimated that it took him a total of 475 hours over 2 years to complete. But amazingly, it wasn't just the exterior of the ship that he made. The interior is also faithfully recreated too, including the bridge, the crew quarters, and the cargo bay. And a series of lights ensures that it looks like it could take off into space at any moment. Number 5. Dinosaur Skeleton. Nathan Sawaya, who built the Lego Batmobile, has made a career from building extraordinary things from the bricks, and another one of his impressive designs earned him a Guinness World Record. In 2011, he built a Dinosaur Skeleton from Lego, and it became the largest complete skeleton to have ever been made that way. You might think that this model would be only a few feet tall, or even as tall as Sawaya himself, but the truth is, it was much, much bigger. Normally, Lego models are scaled-down versions of the real thing. But for this Lego T-Rex, Sawaya used the exact measurements of the real thing. Incredibly, this means that it was more than 20 feet long, and he needed more than 80,000 pieces to do it. He began by studying the precise structure of a T-Rex skeleton by reading paleontology books and taking high-resolution images at the Natural History Museum. He also enlisted the help of experts in the field to ensure his design was right before he even began the build. Then he was ready to get to work. It took him the entire summer of 2011 to make, which he said was in honor of the thousands of children who enjoy the art of Lego building. The skeleton can still be seen on display as a part of Sawaya's exhibition, and you can only imagine how many people it has inspired to try to make a huge Lego design of their own. Number 4. Map of Japan. In 2012, Lego celebrated the 50th anniversary of being on sale in Japan, and the company realized that such a special occasion needed a huge model to reveal. The executives toyed with the idea of creating a huge Godzilla, and even a version of the Shibuya crossing, but neither of these ideas or the countless others that they had were big enough. Then they came to a realization: why not recreate the entire country out of Lego? They designed a structure that would be in the shape of Japan's islands, but would also feature towers and buildings inspired by the country's architectural styles. The more they planned it, the bigger the project became, and it became apparent that it would have to be split up and built at 6 different sites. More than 5,000 people were involved in helping create the base map, and then building structures on top of it, after being asked to envisage the Japan of the future and what they'd like to see in it. In the end, more than 1.8 million pieces of Lego were used, and the 6 pieces were brought together and joined to create one of the most amazing LEGO structures ever to be conceived. Number 3. Mount Rushmore. LEGO was invented in Denmark, so it seems fitting that the country is the location of the first Legoland resort that opened in 1968. It's in the company's hometown of Billund that the company even built its own airport to grant easy access to the site, as well as to handle the cargo produced in the nearby factory. As with all the LEGO lands, the main attractions are the meticulously crafted models that adorn the site, with 59 million bricks currently on display. One of the most popular parts of the park is the Mini-Land, where real-world landmarks have been recreated with the bricks, and it's there that you'll see a LEGO Scottish castle, Amsterdam's canals, the Statue of Liberty, and the Egyptian pyramids. By far the largest of all the buildings, though, is the recreation of Mount Rushmore. Complete with all 4 presidents' faces, the structure alone was made with 1.5 million bricks, which at the time of construction gave it the record of being the largest LEGO model in the world. Admittedly, it's not the greatest of replicas, as it was built before the modern era of LEGO craftsmanship, where custom pieces are used to make models picture-perfect, but it still stands as an amazingly impressive building. Number 2. Obama's Inauguration. In January of 2009, history was made with the swearing-in of the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. It heralded a new era of hope, not only for people in America, but for those around the world. And while the event itself was a spectacle to behold, a LEGO artist decided to recreate it in model brick form too. Displayed at Legoland in California, meticulous detail was put into making this as true to life as possible. The heights of the main attendees, as well as their typical fashion choices, were taken into account, and a number of famous faces can be seen in the crowd. Aretha Franklin is standing on stage performing. The former presidents are sitting in front of the Capitol building waiting for the ceremony to begin, and Obama himself can be seen standing up and ready to give the oath of office. As with all models like this, it's the attention to detail around the main events that really brings things to life, and this one is no exception. If you look closely, you'll see the presidential motorcade, complete with Secret Service agents, and even a few porta-potties with guests queuing up to relieve themselves. It's amazing to see so many rows upon rows of people in attendance to celebrate Obama's inauguration. And if you're ever in doubt how large his crowd truly was, you only need to look at this LEGO replica. Number 1. X-Wing. LEGO has long had an association with Star Wars, having released countless sets that feature famous characters, worlds, and ships from the movie series. Currently, the largest LEGO models you can buy are the ones of the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon. But in 2013, the LEGO company oversaw the construction of the largest ever model made from its bricks, a 1-to-1 perfect replica of an X-Wing. The set you buy in stores for this ship has around 560 pieces and is a few inches long, but this life-size version used almost 5.5 million bricks and is an amazing 11 feet tall, 43 feet long, and has a wingspan of 44 feet. That's 42 times the size of the set you might have sitting on your desk. It took the efforts of 32 people working full-time for 4 months to build it, and they added a few extra surprises, including engines that light up and roar. Weighing more than 46,000 pounds, including the steel supports that were necessary to hold it together, the X-Wing was created to help promote the new Star Wars animated show, The Yoda Chronicles, and was put on display in New York's Times Square. It was originally made in the Czech Republic, though, so it was a massive logistical challenge to disassemble it into pieces, ship it across the Atlantic, and rebuild it on the other side. Doing something like this is no mean feat, and it's likely to hold its record for being the biggest LEGO model ever made for many years to come. But the LEGO company's always looking for new promotional opportunities like this, so who knows? They could already be planning a design to beat it. If you had a chance to choose what their next mega model should be, what would you suggest? Watch our binge-watching playlist if you'd like to watch all of our most popular top 15 videos. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and get ready to binge.